Hello and welcome to Hack the Cycle. I'm your host, Nadya Okamoto, co-founder of August. Whether you're hoping to have kids now, someday, or not at all, fertility is a topic that affects us all. So today we're headed to Columbia University to talk to fertility expert Dr. Iris to learn more. Come on. Dr. Iris?
Nadia, come on in.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, how are you?
So great to meet you.
Oh, it's so good to meet you. I'm so glad you're here.
Me too, this is so cool. So tell me where we are.
So this is the embryology lab, which is where all the magic happens.
Okay.
This is actually the incubator where we examine the follicular fluid, where we find eggs. These are the tanks underneath here where the embryos are kept frozen in liquid nitrogen.
Wow.
Yeah.
What age demographic is this usually?
I'd say most commonly it's between their mid-20s to their mid-30s, but some people don't feel ready until they're in their later 30s. Probably the best time to do it is before the age of 35 if you can, but it doesn't mean that you've missed the boat if you're over 35.
Well, I have so many questions for you and I would love to find a space to go chat through them.
Yeah, let's change out of our scrubs and then we can head to the conference room and have a longer discussion.
Okay, sounds amazing. Let's go.
Okay.
Thank you so much for showing me the lab. It was so cool. I have so many questions, but I would love to start in the basics of what is fertility?
It's a really good question. So fertility really means someone's ability to get pregnant where the egg and the sperm meet, they make an embryo, that embryo implants in a uterus and the pregnancy begins.
So it sounds like fertility affects anybody, regardless of gender, sex.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah, and there's different ways that kind of the term fertility can apply depending on your family structure and your family building goals.
And how do you test somebody's fertility?
This is such a good question and one that I get asked all the time, and it's frustrating, but we don't have an explicit test for fertility. But what we do have are tests that look at what we call ovarian reserve, so markers of kind of the store of eggs, the quantity of eggs.
What does IVF stand for and how does it work?
IVF stands for in vitro fertilization, which basically just means fertilization that happens outside the body. The first step is to get eggs, so if there's a female partner involved, that female partner would go through a stimulation using injections of hormones to kind of recruit follicles in the ovaries to grow. They get big enough, you take a special injection, you have an egg retrieval where we remove the eggs from the ovaries, and then the in vitro part happens after that, where the sperm that's either from a male partner or donor sperm is used to fertilize those eggs, and that makes embryos.
What does the experience of IVF look like? Where does the shot go and how often are you doing it?
Yeah, so the injections that we use are hormones. In this case, we're using much higher dosages of those same hormones because we don't want one egg, we want to get as many eggs as we can get. So you give the injections with these thin, small needles, we call them subcutaneous, so they go just below the level of the skin, typically in the lower belly, and you kind of alternate right side, left side. People are on the injections for about 9 to 10 days, but that's usually enough time to grow the follicles on the ovaries, and then once they're big enough, then you're ready to prepare for the egg retrieval.
And what sort of lifestyle choices affect someone's quality or quantity of eggs?
So the most important thing when it comes to both egg quantity and quality is really age. Age is by far the most important predictive factor, especially when we're thinking about egg quality. There are certain environmental factors that can play a role and can be detrimental when it comes to egg quality and quantity. So exposures like tobacco in particular is really bad, so any cigarette smoking at all can be very detrimental to our ovarian health and to our egg supply. Heavy alcohol use is another one. There's emerging data about plastics, which are really hard to avoid in day-to-day life, and then maintaining a healthy weight can be important.
Would you have any other advice to young people who might be just thinking about their fertility?
Yeah, I'd say it's never too early to check your numbers, get a sense of what your baseline is, and then my other piece of advice is to advocate. Advocate for yourself.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me. I've learned so much. I'm so ready to find out my own ovarian reserve, and it was so great to meet you.
So nice to meet you. Thanks again.
Of course.